Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Fast Cars Go Vroom. My name is Clint.
I am Rob.
And we're back here with episode 10. We have made it through. Well, we haven't made it through 10 episodes yet. We're about to make it through 10 episodes.
What?
This is number 10. We've made it through 9.
What are you talking about,
Exciting, like edge of your seat, high energy, incredibly informative episodes that you're all subscribing to. So we appreciate you as an audience always, and we hope that you are here to learn a little bit about motorsports, where we always talk about the interesting, the quirky, the weird, the things that you might not have thought about and you may be an expert at. If you are an expert at one of these things, comment. We've got a few comments coming through on YouTube, so thanks to those of you who are chiming in there. Make sure that you're helping us out by sharing this stuff. If you think it's interesting, you know somebody, you got an aunt, a friend, a niece, a nephew, somebody you think might be interested in this stuff, share it with them. Tell them about it. Put it on your Facebook or however you feel comfortable sharing this kind of stuff with others. Do it so that we can reach a little bit bigger an audience. And we appreciate you coming back. And if you just discovered us haphazardly, welcome to the crowd. So, Rob, how's it going, man? Everything going okay in your neck of the woods this week?
Everything's good. I'm glad you're trying to lock down that Ant 45 to 55 demo for us. So I appreciate that, brother. I do.
Call your great uncle who really loves superbike racing and tell him about episode, what was that? Episode 4 or 5?
Yeah.
We talked about the knee
Yeah,
pads,
the knee pads. Something like that.
Yeah, awesome. We are in race season in multiple genres right now. In the spring, F1 is at it where they can get to it. NASCAR is multiple races in. Dirt track is trying to get started if the weather will allow. Unfortunately, it's occurring. But yeah, there's racing that's happening all over the country right now. NHRA, drag racing. I think we've covered all of that stuff so far on the podcast.
Yeah, we have. We have. Stuff in this country, stuff all around the world. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we've got some cool stuff coming up too. So make sure you're subscribing so that you can know when a new episode comes out. But let's talk about this one right now. Episode 10. I've brought some interesting stuff here that I've been fascinated by throughout my life as I've grown up at the track, as I have seen drivers develop, as I've watched them come through the ranks and find themselves on the podium at a variety of levels. I want to talk about driver development and how they get to where they are, or how they try to get to where they are, or what systems have been put in place to help develop them. Are you familiar with any kind of driver development programs? Do you know much about it, Rob?
The only thing I really know is karting and how all the F1 guys have started from there and moved up the ranks. But I'm not really familiar with like the American style of how we do it over here, things like that.
So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to motorsports in general, karting is the farming ground, right? Some version or some type of go-kart is where it seems to start for a lot of young people, right? Just like anything, you get kids involved at a young age and they grow up. We play t-ball and then we play farm league or little league or whatever you want to call it in your area. But same thing with racing. There's a lot of different versions of karting. There's European karting. There's the variety of North American versions of karting.
Hello.
There's Australian karting. All of those work up to some major sanctioning body. And then the different styles of karting. You got 2-cycle engines. You got the 5 horsepower engines, gasoline burning. You also have asphalt and dirt karting and all of those. Tons of different types of it, but it all seems to work up to the disciplines. Formula One drivers begin in the European karting, which is CIK or the FIA. They start over there as early as 7 or 8. Are you familiar with the CIK at all?
Nope.
No, I just know that the F1 guys all start in karting. I didn't know it was an official body of CIK.
Yeah, I mean, both European and North American and the United States, there's different sanctioning bodies or different series. In the European, the CIK FIA, they have what they consider the mini, where they start between the ages of 8 to 9 to 12 years old. The real entry point for international competition, and they start really just learning how to maneuver on the track and how to be on the track with other people. Then they move up to OK Junior, which is ages 12 to 14. and OK means original kart. Those are all, just developmental. And then once you get out of that, you're looking at those, what they call the KZ karts, which are the shifter karts. You're actually dealing with a gearbox, changing gears. Those are 6-speed manual transmissions running up to 60, 70 miles an hour. Most of the karting in Europe is going to be on asphalt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some of the Australian and the United States karting is where you're going to see that dirt track or that oval version of it. A lot of different personalities in the F1, specifically in the European version, will come up. You're familiar with Max Verstappen, obviously.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He won the KZ World Championship in 2013. Lando was a KF Junior World Champion. Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton also came out of that developmental program. So, I grew up in the South, and when I grew up with go-karting, there was the World Karting Association, WKA, which was a sanctioning body, mostly 5 horsepower, basically a converted lawnmower engine. But now in North America, you got superkarts. They have a huge event in Las Vegas, the Super Nationals, the United States Pro Kart Series, the Rock Cup ROK, and then other sanctioning bodies in the United States that have a mixture of the dirt karting and the asphalt.
Yeah.
Is backyard. I'm not going to call them
Why
backyard.
would you
but there's
say that?
Operational dirt kart local tracks where not just young people but adults are out there still beating and banging for a plastic trophy on Saturday nights or Sunday afternoons.
So this is our in to become gentleman drivers.
Yeah.
This is it right here.
Never too old to develop, right? To go through the developmental process.
Oh, God, no. I'm still hoping to do this.
Get some help.
That's my in. Here we go. Let's do this.
The SKUSA and the PKS, the Pro Karting Series that I mentioned, some of the drivers that came out of that roll into IndyCar in North America. Colton Herta grew up in SKUSA. Joseph Newgarden came through.
Oh, yeah.
Karting school, Scott McLaughlin. So some of those guys are just some notable names that have gone through that process, that developmental process, and ended up in the road course cars. That's the IndyCar, the F1 version of it. Some other go-karting leads to micro midget series. There's opportunities in North Carolina where a lot of NASCAR drivers migrate to as their kids are developing. They'll end up on an oval dirt track. Some of the micro sprints, we talked about the winged sprints with the 410s. Basically, they take a go-kart frame, put a similar body on it, put a wing on top, and put the kids in it and get out there. And they're racing the same type of looking vehicle, just a lot lower horsepower on a much smaller track.
That's like when we talked about the jet sprints. It's, I think it's called Next Gen. The Next Gen series. It's basically taking a Sea-Doo. Instead of a 2-seater, you have the 1-seater. You rig it up so it's got the chassis of the boat, and you take it on the course. So a younger kid can do jet practice and start competing in jet sprints, but on a smaller horsepower.
Yeah, and learning how to maneuver a vehicle while being on the track with other people. You're learning a lot of those aspects of racing, whether it's drafting, positioning, what they call hitting your marks on the track, determining what your marks are.
Your braking points, where you're going to hit your braking point before you get into the turn, hit the apex at the right point of the turn.
Yeah. Managing your horsepower, understanding how traction works, all of those things. And when we're talking about young people, they're getting that knowledge at 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. One of the things about being able to perform in a car is being able to come off of the track, get out of the car, and tell the engineers, the crew chief, being able to say, look, here's what it's doing. Then the person who knows about the car can say, okay, we need to talk about the gear, or we need to talk about the air pressure and the right rear. You're really developing those things as a young person, the understanding of what the car can and should be doing throughout your whole lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
So because of that, when you look at branding and you look at sponsorships, these manufacturers and these sponsors in these circuits like NASCAR, IndyCar, F1 have a very high interest in this type of development because they want to identify those individuals who are going to be able to pick up on that kind of stuff, they have the ability to recognize those kind of things. It's a mixture between driver talent and engineering or understanding the actual vehicle and the mechanics and the science of it all so that they
Yeah.
can develop that, communicate. And then on top of that, if you become a superstar, when they put a camera in your face, are you going to say the things that NASCAR or IndyCar or that sponsor like Toyota or Ford wants you to say or doesn't want you to say, right?
Right. I mean, you gotta get the sponsor spiel
I'm
out of
Ricky
the way.
Bobby.
Let's
You
be
don't
real.
chew Big
Yeah,
Red.
so I mean, they start watching these young people and how they act at the track and all of their events and supporting them. The Toyota Driver Development Program is a really good example of that. It's probably one of the most robust multi-discipline programs that exists in North America. We talked about the Chili Bowl. They're very involved in that. For example, there's a motorsports team, Keith Kuntz Motorsports, has a large team of midget cars that is utilized in that development program. Some of the drivers he's had in his cars over the years are Kyle Larson, Rico
Yeah.
Abreu, Buddy Kofoid is somebody that you're going to see. Buddy's been in multiple disciplines over the last 5 years. That is a farming ground for NASCAR. And Toyota's really has been really invested in things like that in pavement and late models. And then, moving up to series like ARCA and NASCAR trucks and Infinity Series. Obviously, their goal is to identify those young drivers and then just help them get to the big show. Another example, Hall of Famer Jeff Gordon, who's announcing now. He was incredibly famous NASCAR driver, came out of the open-wheeled midgets and USAC series. Christopher Bell is another NASCAR driver that's out there right now winning races. Came out of California, moved to Ohio, drove a sprint car, went through the midget series as well. There are even colleges that have gotten involved. UNOH, University of Northern Ohio, has a high-performance mechanics program where the university owns cars that go out and compete during the summer, and the entire team basically is college students. So they're actually getting the experience of maintaining, loading, working on it, driving it, and getting all the aspects of the high performance and racing world.
So they're a mixture of driver development and pit crew development. Sounds like.
Yep. Yeah, I got the whole thing. So it's not just a series where you're out there racing, but it is a college that's gotten behind the high performance motorsports and build a program around it. And sometimes if you're watching specifically dirt or some of the pavement late model stuff, you'll see a huge billboard. They sponsor and recruit from all over the country. So if you're watching some of the events on Flow Sports or sometimes on cable TV, you'll see a giant UNOH billboard, and that's what that is. It's a university with a motor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Yep. So I feel like I just said a lot of stuff really fast.
Well, it was a lot of stuff. I mean, driver development takes some time, but you just crammed it all in there.
I did.
It's a lot of work to develop a driver.
Like I mentioned earlier, a big part of it is just driver talent, right? You have to be able to have the instincts, the understanding of how to maneuver. You got to have reaction time. But that key component of being able to communicate what the machine is or isn't doing and really understanding what it should be capable of is a major key to success. If you can't come off the track or communicate over the radio to the team or the crew chief a true understanding of what it is, then you got a communication breakdown or interpretation breakdown, and that's just going to prevent everybody from getting where they want to be.
Yeah, and I've heard stories from old F1, like Jackie Stewart and previous era F1 drivers, where they would get out of the car and tell their engineer, their pit crew, their whoever, hey, check out the right front brake. Something is wrong with it. And they'll look, and pit crew would say, yep, 100%. That's exactly what was wrong. The driver knew from driving that car so long exactly how it should feel, how it's supposed to feel, and then they'd be able to communicate, look, it's coming from this area. it's probably the suspension or insert problem here, and they're usually pinpoint accurate.
I remember when we put tachometers on go-karts for the first time, and it was tracking RPMs.
Well, duh.
It was just like a digital screen, like a calculator screen. I mean, it's a glorified lawnmower engine, and you got this electrode on it now. Boop. With a little digital screen on in the middle of the go-kart steering wheel telling you what RPMs. You just got to remember that, right? It wasn't like beaming it to any computer in the pits or anything. I mean, the driver had to see it through the helmet. It looked like a little Texas Instrument display. You'd be like, oh, that, I remember coming out of turn 4 with about 3 laps to go. I had this many RPMs, and it had been dropping. That's the kind of communication that you had to bring back to the pits between heat races and the feature or whatever. But now all that stuff is real time, right? All that data is getting beamed straight to the pit box. Everybody can see it, and you have an ongoing conversation, radio conversations about it. And so it's like a completely different level of language. Obviously, these younger drivers now are far more tech savvy than the drivers in the 80s or, than the drivers with the open face helmets in NASCAR that were smoking cigarettes on the caution laps. It's a different world, but they've grown up in it. As the time has changed, they've had more and more technology, and it's all super fascinating to me. I didn't really think about the technology side of it until you just said you were talking about the suspension feels this way, but now there's data, there's computer output on that. Where the box, your crew chief may be calling the driver and saying, hey, I see this on the computer.
That happens in F1 all the time.
Are you feeling that? Or what is it? What do you think it's doing? Or where is it happening? What line are you on in the track? Yeah.
Since I know the F1 world, like you'll see them in between qualifying runs or in between practice runs. They'll have a computer screen brought down to the cockpit while the crew is working on the tires or whatever, and the car's on jacks and the driver's still in the car. They'll have a computer screen brought down to them, and they'll be looking at data, charts and graphs, like, okay, at turn 2, I'm braking at this part, but I should be braking a little sooner, and that'll help me come out of the turn better. Yeah, it's insane what they do now.
Yeah, and I don't know what that training or that development looks like on interpreting data, but it's just that natural ability to manage technology, right? It's just to younger drivers, it comes more natural.
And I'm guessing they don't do it right away. Obviously, in the karting world, you don't really truly have that, even on the higher levels of karting. So it's probably as you get into the real world of racing, I guess you could say, that's probably going to get us all sorts of comments.
Are you saying karting's not real racing?
No, I'm not. No. I'm gonna get hurt. No, but what I mean is I have a feeling it's more of a gradual easing into that aspect of driving. What we were talking about, how the feel of something and being able to communicate that's probably earlier on in your career.
Yeah.
And you ease more into the technology side of, hey, this is how to read the graph and how to interpret the data we're getting.
Yeah, I mean, that creates a whole nother argument, right? How much do you have to rely on feel? And I am not a high-level driver. I don't know the answer to that question, but what does data fix? And what does just that understanding that I've been doing this for 18 years, feeling fix? What's more valuable? You have to feel it, experience it, and know what it feels like to be able to gauge that and do it. So that's a little bit about driver development. How do you end up in a NASCAR? How do you end up in a IndyCar or F1? I've been able to see a little bit more of the IndyCar because I have good access to Mid-Ohio, and they come every year, and see some of those guys actually move up through the developmental program that they actually have on track. So that developmental program, kind of like NASCAR, it travels with IndyCar, and they'll run all of those series, the 3 different developmental series of IndyCar.
Yeah, when you and I go, I know a lot of the earlier races in the day are the developmental leagues.
Yeah, I think they call it USF 2000 or the juniors, USF juniors.
Yeah.
So they're really moving out of go-karts and into a car that's shaped like an Indy car. You know what I mean? It actually has that type of body. And then USF Pro, I think, is the next step up from that. It has a little more technology involved. And then used to be called Indy Lights, was just below IndyCar, but I think that's called Indy NXT now. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I mean, that's a mixture of both ovals and street circuits in an IndyCar. I think the way their schedule is set up. The whole point of this is, if you want to be a race car driver, there's tons of ways, to get out there, but if you want to do it for one of the major teams, you probably should have started when you were 8 or 9.
I blame my parents for that, but I'm willing to be a gentleman driver. That is my new goal. I'm here for that.
Where were the simulators when we were kids? Other than the ones we were standing behind at an arcade, like we talked.
I was just doing like we talked about last, Ivan Ironman Stewart's super off-road. That's all I was playing. Where the hell? Why am I not in a super truck?
Listen, here's how I developed. If I could drive a race car with that little rectangular Nintendo controller, and then I could probably do a pretty good job.
Lewis Hamilton was doing radio-controlled cars before he was into karting and F1 and all that. I was into RC Pro-Am. What the hell, dude? We're on the same trajectory here. Come on.
So you're sitting in the car with the gun, like the gun-shaped wheel and the trigger.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Give me one of those. If you could make that happen for me, I could probably drive anything.
Oh my God.
Or the joysticks, right? I could drive this car with my thumbs.
I could do that. I could do that.
Because I didn't develop on a track or in an actual motorized vehicle.
No. It's all electric.
Oh, that's funny. That's all I got. That's what I got.
I love it. That's awesome.
It's fun
we
stuff.
now have a way in. We have a way in.
Yes.
Gentlemen rally drivers. Let's do this.
The idea of racing a go-kart right now makes my back hurt. Gives me a headache and makes my back hurt. Just thinking about it.
I'll be honest, my knees hurt trying to get up and down, in and out of the seat. That might screw me up.
I will say, a few years ago on vacation, there was a go-kart track across from the house that we had rented on vacation. Like literally across the road, which is the worst case for me. So I went over and I bought the all-day pass. Go as many times as you want. Basically, I went back and forth across the road about a dozen times that day racing go-karts. They had 4 two-seaters, right? Yeah. I tore the right rear tire off of all 4 of those before that day was out.
Hell yeah. You need good tires, man. You need good tires.
I mean, just shredded one of them. Just shredded one. And I wasn't hitting. It was just turning right to go left. I was putting everything on the right rear. That was me developing my kids riding along. They love it. I got a few that would, if I could support it, if I had the right spot. Hey, I'm looking for sponsors to put my kids. I got one that can still do quarter midgets. I got a couple that I can put in go-karts. So if anybody's interested in sponsoring some young people who really, really, really want to be race car drivers, let me know.
If anyone wants to sponsor an old ass man who really, really, really wants to drive, give me a call. Any VPN that wants to sponsor this channel, give me a call.
There you go.
We can do a read for you. I promise.
Good deal. So I hope you guys learned something. Thanks for coming back to this episode of Fast Cars Go Vroom. Make sure you're sharing. Give us a like there. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to see and what you want to learn something about. We'll go dig into it. See what kind of details we can find. See what we can learn and share with you and discuss and just, or make, if we don't know, we'll just make it up. Maybe. Not really.
That's what he did this whole episode. None of that's real. Way to end the episode. Way to go.
Yeah, thanks for discrediting everything I just said. All right.
Don't worry. We'll edit it out somehow.
All right. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you back here on the next episode of Fast Cars Go Vroom.
Have a great one. Oh, while you're doing that, hey, that sounds pretty. I like that.
As long as you're not going to say anything illegal, go ahead.
Hold on. I have a slight echo of me in my headset. Do you have an echo?
I don't. I heard it on the couple of the clips, though. I heard an echo of me on a couple of those shorts.
Okay, now it's gone.
I can't minimize while I am recording? Interesting. Whatevs.